I've been thinking a lot recently about many things in my past, both good and bad. A particular feeling came to mind. A feeling that can only be obtained once per experience, and only once, never to be recaptured again in exactly the same form. An elusive feeling that, quite frankly, is almost impossible to explain. It isn't really something that can be put in a box and given to someone else. Do you know what feeling it is? Curiously enough, this topic sprung forth to mind when I was playing Genshin Impact over the last week. I came to a moment where I didn't know what to do, and I didn't really want to spend the time to figure out the puzzle. So what did I do? Probably what most people tend to do nowadays when faced with an issue. I went ahead and looked up a guide on Google, followed the steps, and completed the quest for my meager Primogems. And then I continued on. Only to feel this uncomfortable sense of emptiness inside. A feeling I have felt more than a few times, especially since most people who I used to play with don't play anymore. On further examination, I realized I had been doing this quite often for Genshin, a game which I have been playing since its release in September of 2020. It was then that a grave question lodged itself into my brain and refused to leave. And so I posed the same grave question to you, viewer. When was the last time you felt pure, undistilled, unbridled wonder? How would you describe it? Because I don't really know myself. Some of my earliest memories of wonder involve games. Long gone are the days of being able to play Dynasty Warriors 3 on the PS2 in my parents' basement, counting out loud to make sure I was pressing the right combination of buttons. I was fascinated with the opportunity to become a one-man army that turned the tides of battle, leading my side to an overwhelming victory as I plowed through rows and rows and rows of enemy soldiers. Or when my friend Hannah introduced me to Maplestory back in 2008. My family was over at her house for dinner, and she showed me this world that I knew nothing about. Little did I know that it would capture my attention for roughly the next 3 years. There was something very welcoming about the art and gameplay that immediately drew me in. So the very next day, I started the installation process on my own computer, only to realize they would be done by the time I returned from my brother's basketball game. Those hours I spent at the game felt like some of the longest I'd ever waited. Day-to-day exploration, playing with my friends, and finding new secrets. Those were all moments I will never get back. Like trying to venture as deep into Sleepywood as possible before encountering something that would one-shot me. Or when I did Monster Carnival PQ all day to get to level 40 so I could wear my Red Titan and feel cool. It was a world that felt so vast and unexplored, just waiting for someone to discover its secrets. I'd even go onto strategywiki.org or Hidden Street and read up on the mobs and fantasize about the day when I'd be able to fight them. When I probably should have been doing homework on my dad's computer. Not only just in the gameplay, but the soundtracks of Maplestory, and that sense of whimsy they invoked in me then, and now. And maybe that's nostalgia talking, but I wonder, where did it all go? The idea of wonder is very much a precursor to the crucial emotion of elevation, which I have mentioned in my previous video on Katawa Shoujo. In Arik Orange's essay on Katawa Shoujo and elevation, he cites a paper written by 2 psychologists regarding the topic of awe, which is a synonym for wonder. Awe is felt about diverse events and objects, from waterfalls to childbirth to scenes of devastation. Awe is central to the experience of religion, politics, nature, and art. Fleeting and rare, experiences of awe can change the course of a life in profound and permanent ways. They note that two features form a prototype for awe: vastness and accommodation. Vastness refers to anything that is experienced as being much larger than the self. Vastness is often a matter of simple physical size, but it can also involve social size such as fame, authority, or prestige. Accommodation refers to the Piagetian process of adjusting mental structures that cannot assimilate a new experience. Or in other words, when the faculty of our brains cannot understand or make sense of the vastness of an experience. I was talking to my friend Arcadia about this very topic, and he mused that perhaps naivete is necessary for these kinds of experiences. The ones that bring forth pure, undistilled, unbridled wonder. And so it would seem, understanding is the death of innocence and wonder. Or at least, it can be. With that in mind, perhaps accommodation explains why we might feel less awe as we gain understanding. Maybe that's why, as we grow older, we lose that often childlike wonder that our worlds are seemingly inundated with when we are younger. Earlier, I mentioned Maplestory, which I'd imagine some of you also played in your youth. I had a profound amount of nostalgia for those days, so much so that I joined a private server in my sophomore year of college. I guess, more than anything else, I wanted to recapture that elusive, ever-fleeting feeling of wonder. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my time immensely. I met some really interesting people, had a chance to play classes I'd never played before. The OG ones, like Magician, Archer, Pirate, and Thief. Progressed far beyond I ever had as a child. Fought bosses I had never fought before, like Zakum and Krex. And I helped found a guild that was well known on the server. But somehow it all still felt so empty. The magic that I once felt was recaptured for a few moments. Like a flash of lightning, it was there. And then it was gone. I don't play anymore. I haven't logged into the server for years. But I still have my memories of it. One of my friends told me that her last discernible moment of wonder was when she was a child, and first saw the night sky in all its splendor at a Firefly Park. She saw the stars, the Milky Way, the moon, and lots of fireflies. She asked herself, is this what our ancestors saw? Something so vast and so beautiful. But at the end of our conversation, she told me, all my wonder memories are gone. The innocent child inside of me is gone. So with that in mind, does that mean wonder and awe are lost forever to us as we get older? As age increases on the x-axis, does wonder decrease on the y-axis? Is the relationship an inverse one? Judging from the conversations I've had for this video, and the many musings of my own experiences, I would have to conclude, no. Well, kinda. I don't think it's possible to recapture childlike wonder. That's why it's childlike. And as we grow up, learn, and mature, we see the world in its warts. More often than not, we begin to ignore the beauty of it as the terrible, repulsive, painful stuff in the world crushes that childlike spirit inside of us, until it seems to exist no more. I asked some people that very same question I asked you at the start of this video. When was the last time you felt pure, undistilled, unbridled wonder? More than anything else, I found the depth and variety of their answers to be very intriguing. One of my friends, who was married last year, stated that he felt a sense of wonder asking his then-girlfriend's mother for permission, and that sense of wholehearted acceptance she gave him. My old collegiate professor said that while he didn't exactly experience the same level of wonder that he did when he was a child, watching his daughter develop and grow has been a wonder in its own right. Another friend of mine replied with a beautiful description. In a dive with his father and brother, he was shown a beautiful hawksbill sea turtle that he might have missed despite its presence in his immediate vicinity, and how he still holds the moment as an unadulterated moment of peace, and an encounter he still remembers to this day. He bought a little sea turtle carving at the end of his trip, which he described to me as a token of the ephemeral experience. My med school friend remarked to me that people usually get into science because there's something they see in the topic that provokes a sense of wonder. But then the idea of trying to understand wholeheartedly through study, test-taking, and the idea of school just kind of kills that sense of wonder. But once in a while, he told me, it's an amazing feeling when you see someone, even on a med school level, be like, whoa, this is so cool. Someone else told me that he'd been too analytical and cynical lately, and that he might conclude that he'd never felt an experience of wonder at all. He further mused that in watching another couple and his perception of their love, he described it as a profound experience, and one that he could have gone his whole life without learning. In a separate conversation, another friend spoke to the wonder he felt when he heard that Final Fantasy VII was getting a remake, as his favorite game of all time, but in its nostalgic and sentimental value. Through all of these examples and the myriad of conversations I had, I came to a conclusion. That wonder, as elusive, as fleeting, as difficult as it is to pin down and obtain, it isn't something that one can experience without being present. And maybe to some degree, the indescribable feeling returns when sharing it with someone, and watching how they react to it. There is a palpable sense of wonder that exists, but it still, indeed, fails to reach the same heights. I'm no expert. I'm just someone who's trying to make sense of it and how I'd seemingly lost this childlike wonder in myself. Wonder can transform people and reorient their lives, goals, and values. To me, that much is clear. I'm a firm believer that such events are one of the fastest and most impactful ways to change and grow. I've experienced that in my own life. Katawa Shoujo shook my life more than a decade ago, and why I'll take any opportunity I can to convince others to try it. To have them moved and inspired like I am every single time I read it. And when I still return to certain scenes, or hear the sound of the menu music, that feeling washes over me again. Why I have such fondness for roguelites, like the infamous Enter the Gungeon, or Hades, despite the frustrations they present in difficulty and the seemingly repetitive cycle of gameplay that always puts me on edge. Or why little kids and babies always remind me of the miracle of life. Or why certain soundtracks and scenes in Haikyuu still give me the chills. Or where my love for RPGs all started in a 2D MMORPG called Maplestory. And while this elusive feeling won't ever return in exactly the same way, I don't think wonder is dead forever. I think it's okay to accept that wonder comes in different forms as we grow older. We just have to be paying attention. Maybe these moments of wonder won't change anything drastic for you. Maybe it won't cause tectonic shifts, maybe it won't inspire you, and you won't recapture it. All you'll be left with is the memory of it. Memories that'll leave deep scorch marks well afterwards. And it's probably just the child still barely clinging on inside of me, but I think that's worth it. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving me a subscription, a like, or comment below what you think of the idea of wonder and maybe one of your experiences. I always look forward to reading the comments. Huge shout out to all of my friends who are willing to answer my question and delve into conversations they probably weren't expecting. Y'all are amazing. And of course, I'm grateful to you, viewer, for making it to the end of this video. Have a great week, and I hope to see you all again soon.